I am officially bulletproofed. Yes, that's why my skin is glowing and I'm looking ripped and jacked. It's because every morning I take my mycotoxin-free bulletproof coffee and mix it up with MCT oil and grass-fed butter. Why, do you ask? Well, it does a lot of things. It replaces my meal for the morning, and it gets my brain all the right nutrients they need. Those oils, that fat, and then I don't eat until 1 or 2 o'clock. So it's not really just coffee. It's turning into a lifestyle.
A few months ago, I took my first trip to Alaska, which was really life-changing for me. I ended up 5 to 6 hours total flight time north of Fairbanks, which is well above the Arctic Circle, arguably the most remote point in North America. And we were dropped off in a small seaplane on the side of a lake, and they gave us our satellite phone, and we threw all our gear out, and they said, "We'll see you in a week." And we ended up hunting caribou, fishing, and foraging blueberries and whatnot for the entire time there. No phones, no calendars, no computers, not even any books or magazines. Didn't do any reading. It was just
Really?
all manual labor and working for food and making food. And it was, I kid you not, it was probably only 5 or 6 days. But when I came back from that experience, it was like I'd taken a 6-month vacation.
Okay.
Because
Did you miss did you miss any information technology whatsoever?
I didn't.
But Steve Rinella is a cool guy, so you can hang out with him, right?
Yeah, the whole crew was amazing. I mean, we had 4 or 5 people there. Steve Rinella is amazing. I recommend people check him out. He's a fantastic writer too, really good writer. He is the Scavenger's Guide to Haute Cuisine. He's written an entire book on the history of the American buffalo.
Wow.
He's a real phenomenal character, hysterical too, because he sounds like a redneck, but he's written for the New Yorker. He's hysterical. I love.
He's a good chef as well, right?
Oh, he's funny though, because you read his stuff and you're like, wait, you wrote that? Because you'll be talking to him and he'll be walking you through field dressing a caribou, and he'll be like, yep, grab his pecker, cut around his scrot, and you're just like, what? You write for a living?
Brian just confided in me before the show that he had hunted and killed squirrels in his past, which blew my mind.
Oh, yeah.
I have some family in Arizona and Colorado, so I'm 1 generation removed. But I saw some of the clips of you on Meat Eater, and obviously some stuff in your book where you're really cutting an animal open and pulling out its warm organs.
Yeah.
And you said you felt some weird kind of comfort, right? When you were
This
doing
is
it?
hard to convey. Yeah,
Okay.
it's because but I'll do my best. I think it's important for background to explain to people that I was always averse to hunters and hunting. And I grew up on the eastern end of Long Island in New York, where we have a huge deer problem. There's massive overpopulation, and therefore you have all sorts of issues. Lyme's disease, for instance. We have the highest incidence of Lyme's disease, highest density of deer ticks. Therefore, we have extended bow hunting seasons. And my family, I grew up on effectively a farm. The property was previously a farm, and we had deer come across our property, injured deer with arrows sticking in them, and from hunters who hadn't done the job properly. And they would die on our property, and we'd have to clean it up. Or like the dog, I remember my dog came back. Frank, he was a mutt, a rescue, but he came up to our door with a deer leg at one point. We're just like, good God, what is this, the Flintstones? And we would find beer cans on the side of the road left from hunters who had been trespassing on our property hunting deer. So I always had this very negative impression of hunting and hunters, and I thought it was very wasteful because that's what I saw. When writing The 4-Hour Chef, one of the sections is the wild section, and I wanted to reconnect outside of the kitchen with ingredients, things we usually recognize as wrapped in some fancy package on a shelf in Whole Foods or a grocery store. And that meant not only learning how to forage, but also looking at how to hunt and feeling responsible for the protein that you put on a plate. So I sought out Steve Rinella, and that really changed everything because he is an extremely responsible and strict hunter in that respect, and he grew up hunting and trapping. I mean, he was trapping for money, I think, at age 10 or so, maybe even younger, in rural Michigan. And he showed me how it is possible to not only be respectful when you're killing an animal, and effective, certainly, but how it can raise your consciousness related to food and just life in general by going through the field dressing and butchering process. And the point that you brought up was field dressing for people who, it means removing the guts from an animal, basically, is what that means in the field.
Which you have to do pretty fast.
You have to do it pretty quickly because the organs, there are lots of issues with leaving the organs inside the animal, certainly. The meat can rot. You can have, depending on the type of shot or the type of kill, you can have all sorts of spoilage. So you have to remove the organs quickly. And a lot of them are edible right away. Liver, heart, etc.
Wow.
Although you don't want to eat a polar bear liver because you'll get vitamin A poisoning. Luckily, I'm not hunting polar bears very often. I thought I would be very awkward in the hunting process, and I wasn't. And the only way that I can really explain it, because I would say maybe 1 or 2 minutes into, and you've seen the photographs, cutting the deer open, going in and removing the organs and whatnot, maybe 2 minutes into it, I felt like I'd done it 100 times before. It was just the most surreal...
A genetic memory from your days.
Yeah, exactly. It was just, and the way I put it in the book was, how do orphan cats know how to hunt?
Yeah.
How do animals know how to behave as if they don't have parents to demonstrate for them, and there's some type of genetic hardwiring that predisposes them to certain behaviors, and that's the way it felt. It was really uncanny. And Steve, I remember even Steve was like, "You've never done this before?" I was like, "Nah, man, I've never done it." It was just, it came very easily. And
it doesn't explain why I was so awkward the first time I had sex, though.
Maybe you weren't meant to.
Well, yeah.
Fuck you, Brian.
Even on it seems like other species have trouble with that too. If you watch, it's like, no, man, you're on the wrong side. You gotta. So this is probably, well, maybe this is from the DMT you put in my green tea. But there's a photograph somewhere. God, this is just the danger of the internet, of this giraffe trying to have sex with a donkey at the zoo, and it's just like, poor donkey. It's terrible. So I think even they haven't quite figured it out.
Fair enough.
Because they're in captivity like most humans. So of course